Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Moohead Radio Cleveland Browns postgame show with a loss. This goes beyond, for me, uh, yeah, we're all fans of the Browns, and that's great. You should continue to be a fan of the Browns. You don't give up on your team. But I'll tell you where my problem lies. And I have a quote up here from Brian, and this could be literally anybody. It's Kareem Hunt, but it could be Koromoa, who came off the field. And I really don't want to watch football anymore. I really am having trouble. My conscience, I'm wrestling with this. And I've been, if you listen to the program, you'd know that this is an ongoing.
My comment was actually in reference to Baker going off. So
All right. Well, it could be, see, that's the universality of it, is that,
yeah,
you know, every one of these players is questionable. And I'll tell you where my problem lies. I understand that football's a hurt business. You know, it's a hurting business. You play hurt. Everybody knows that. It's been that way for God knows how long. But I'll tell you something else. When Nick Chubb is out of the game and Kareem Hunt's had a constant knee problem and was questionable to play, and you refuse to play Dearness Johnson as a second running back and give the full load to Kareem Hunt, this crosses the line for me. And I don't want to watch this anymore. There's no reason to take a player who tries as hard as he can, like Kareem Hunt, and literally intentionally cripple him. And that's what Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns organization is doing. They're treating their players like they're used cars.
yep.
And, you know, the fact of the matter is that I can't watch this. And I stopped watching it, and I won't watch it again. It makes me sick. I'll sit here and I'll do a show, but I won't watch it. I can't, for the life of me, fathom how you can come into a game where you know that you're already at a disadvantage in your running game and not play all of the pieces you have. And Dearness Johnson is completely healthy. And he ran for 100 yards in a game last year. And we know that he's capable of hitting a hole. Even if your running game wasn't going to go anywhere because of Hudson and Hance, you protect, you know, all this talk about teamwork and all this talk about next man up. What about Dearness Johnson? He was the next man up. And he never got to get up, did he?
Nope.
And this gives me a real problem. And this is the next thing. It isn't just that Stefanski is not trusting his players. Stefanski has become a tin horn dictator. He won't let his quarterback audibilize. He wants to call all the plays. He's going to put in the lineups. Every play he calls is predicated upon what players are on the field, and he kept Kareem Hunt on the field. He's a little Princeton piece of shit who never took a good hit in his life. These guys playing their ass off, trying to make something out of nothing, and the team is decimated by injuries. They should forfeit the game. They should all get COVID intentionally and forfeit the game on Thursday. It is cruel and unusual punishment. It's inhumane. This is what leads to CTE. This is what leads to crippled for life. This is what became of Leroy Horde, who you still won't hear about. But yes, he's got encephalopathy, and yes, he's crippled. You won't hear about a lot of things because the team just doesn't want to talk about that. Was this game that important? Knowing that you had to play on Thursday, you had no chance to win this game going in. The second that your two tackles were unavailable to play, you had no chance. No chance at all. The game was over before it began.
Yep.
And you could see the way that it began. The coaching staff, in all of Kevin Stefanski's great play calling wisdom, just decided we can't run the ball, so we're going to go empty backfield and just make Baker a target.
And they
I don't know.
The second half.
Yeah, I don't understand it. The only time in the game we moved the football was when we played an up-tempo, fast offense. So we stopped doing that the second it worked. The running game actually started working and we started getting tempo. But God forbid, that's not the way Kevin Stefanski plays. He's stubborn. He's selfish. He's headstrong. And he just keeps running the same shit at people. The goddamn wide receivers are blanketed. Literally blanketed. There's no separation. The passes, I mean, the Hail Mary, he had to catch it over 3 people. And the other one that Peoples-Jones for a good distance first down catch, I mean, the guy was draped all over him. He wasn't open and he still caught it. But these guys, there's no open players on the field. And, you know, I already said on the halftime show that Baker Mayfield, I mean, he may want to win. I understand that he's very competitive, but he's going to end his own career being this kind of competitive and he won't learn. And the coach doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets crippled for life. He doesn't give a shit. Baker Mayfield has to throw the ball away. Baker Mayfield, whatever he's looking at downfield, he ain't finding it. And whatever it is, it might not be open because I'm not privy to that eagle eye view of what he's looking at. But we haven't had a single goddamn play the entire year where he's stuck in the pocket for a period of time, buys himself time, and he finds somebody 45 yards downfield. Now, everyone's doing it against us. I mean, how does DeAndre Hopkins stand there in the back of the end zone and catch the ball with nobody near him? How's that happen? We have a defensive scheme that doesn't make sense to the players who are playing it. They don't understand it, and it flat out doesn't work. And it's not getting better. They're not being coached. I mean, you know, what can I tell you? The season is over for me. I'm done. I'm finished. I don't want to watch people get maimed and mangled. Losing is hard enough. But the inhumanity of all of this makes me puke. I just can't do it. And it's hard for me to verbalize. It's just hard for me to verbalize. So, you know.
And I tried my best, folks.
Yeah, I mean.
I don't know how the hell I ended up with 131 points this week.
No. Yeah, whatever fantasy it is. The fantasy is that you're really watching a game when you're watching a fucking war. I don't know what this is.
No.
This ain't football. These guys getting carried off the field and coming back out on the field for more. And there's supposed to be people with cooler heads who prevail. But Stefanski will let them keep coming back in the game until they're crippled for life. That is apparent. He doesn't protect his players. And you know something? The effort we started seeing in the second half of guys getting dragged, not making tackles we haven't seen all year, they quit. They gave up. And the reason they gave up, coach, he's lost the team. He's lost, in my mind, him standing up there and saying, I have to do better, and week after week, the same damn thing. There can be no explanation for why Dearness Johnson did not get playing time and try to protect Kareem Hunt. Now we have no running backs for Thursday. What's the point of playing that game? And, you know, and James Hudson is not ready to play and Hans isn't ready to play. But, you know, the bottom line is that instead of When the first sign of hurt comes up, you give them a week off. We just keep playing them. And then they're gone for multiple weeks. Also, do you understand now that OBJ is two things? One, he's held together by paper clips. He's a slight-bodied receiver in a league that keeps getting bigger and faster. Yes, he's got hands, and yes, he can make acrobatic catches. That was a long time ago, folks. He's not the same guy. And he's hurt.
Yeah.
And, he comes back into the game. And, at this point, what the hell does it matter? And if you're Baker Mayfield, why do you want to stay in Cleveland? And if you're Cleveland, why do you want to keep Baker Mayfield? We're right back where we started from, folks. We're a 500 football team who beats lousy football teams and loses to good football teams. And we've tried until today. And finally, the dam broke. And there's just nothing in their bodies and in their hearts left to give. Because there's nothing in the hearts of the people who are making the decisions. And I grieve, because I know that the expectations of fans was much greater. And if this sounds like a eulogy, it is. It's an absolute eulogy. We're not good enough, healthy, to beat these other teams that have faster wide receivers, who have more options with mobile quarterbacks. We are, I hate to say this, we are like a team from another era. This incredibly good blocking, running, precision passing, Bob Greasy, Don Shula offense with the multiple running backs, trying to win throwing the ball 20 times to 24 times a game. Except we don't have no fearsome foursome. We don't have the killer bees. We don't have a defense. And you can't win playing drib and drab football, giving up chunks. Never going to win. And you're playing against teams that have such athleticism. One step in the wrong direction, they blow by you, and it's a touchdown. And we've seen it now. We're seeing it week after week now. It becomes a pattern. I'm very, very sorry about this for Cleveland fans. And unfortunately, they've caught on to the scheme. The receivers aren't open. Baker's stuck in the pocket. The receivers don't have separation skills. He's a duck, sitting duck in the pocket. He's already badly injured his left shoulder.
And I don't know how he didn't permanently injure it when he took that fall. The way he landed, I thought that thing was torn right in fucking half.
Well, he was splayed out in such a way, he just, I don't know who Kill Me Now is. If you want to identify yourself in the chat room, please do. I'd be more than happy to put
I bet
you on
that's
the show.
Gronk.
No, I don't have any verification on who it is, but he can tell me who he is in the chat room. And Sean, let's not get sensitive. Of course, it's not just Baker Mayfield. And I hope you're listening to what I'm saying. Baker Mayfield is so competitive, he'll keep coming back until he's crippled for life.
Yeah.
Whether it's good for the team, bad for the team, he ain't going to quit. I'm sorry?
Kill Me Now is Hammer.
Oh, okay. Very good. Hi, Hammer.
Sorry to interrupt you. I know you don't like being interrupted.
Oh, no. That's good. That's good. I was asking for help.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sean, it isn't that I'm blaming Baker Mayfield. And if people in the chat room are blaming him, it's a one-dimensional argument. What I can tell you is this. Baker Mayfield is not going to be the guy for this era of football. He's very competitive. He tries very hard. He's emotional. Sometimes his emotions get the best of him. He's slow-footed and he's short. And he's playing in a league where quarterbacks are taller, faster, and have better vision than he does. It hasn't worked out. And maybe that's why the Cleveland Browns are playing him until he's carried off the field in a wheelbarrow, because they have no interest in signing him. I don't know. But I don't understand what the organization is doing, except that I know that if there's a way to fuck up, that the organization will fuck up because of Haslam. It always works out that way. It always has, and it always will. And why this, I mean, the thing that's kind of almost cynically funny about this, why did the officials think that they even had to make the calls they made in the beginning of the game? You know, you know, they didn't have to make any of those calls against the Browns. Browns had no chance and admitted it in the beginning of the game. They just went into some kind of goofy, empty backfield offense that couldn't possibly work. There was nothing. But they were going to get holding calls. They were going to get bogus pass interference calls. I don't know. Somebody's upset with somebody in the organization, and they're going to continue to make the Browns play for the rest of our lives. It isn't going to change. And you have to play through it. And I get what you're saying, Will. There were many strange calls in this game. Many strange calls in the beginning of the game. You know, and it's tough. And I think we're still trying to get Hammer Time set up here. You know, it's there is no, you're ass deep into this. The players and the coaching staff has to sit down, and you know, you're layers away from Stefanski being terminated. Where you're at, though, is that if I were Joe Woods, I'd be looking over my shoulder. All right, because there's no improvement in the defense. They just keep giving up these incredible chunk plays where they're just not covering people. People don't, you know, there was one play and I pointed it out on Twitter before I stopped tweeting. I just gave up. I stopped watching the thing. I was watching it out of the corner of my eye. I was eating my spaghetti and meat sauce, you know, and I was kind of looking at it, but not with the kind of scrutiny that I normally would. But I saw Greedy Williams going like this. Well, what am I supposed to do with this guy? And sure enough, that's where the ball went. Nobody's communicating on the field, and it's not getting better at all. And whatever the situation is, and what do I think of Kyler Murray? He's all right, but he's quick, but he isn't in the elite. Let's put it that way. You know, you realize that we have
doing enough to win the games.
Yeah, we had the ball with an opportunity to get to 30-21, and OBJ dropped another one. But again, the defenders are glued to these receivers. They know where the ball's going to go. When we're in the red zone, their guys are standing there wide in the open, just catching the ball. Our guys are just draped over. It's been figured out. The code has been cracked. Hammer, is there something wrong with your camera that is just that this looks whack? You there with us now?
Yes, I'm sitting in the dark because I have a migraine from watching this team.
Yeah, don't we all?
Well, as I said in the chat, he looks like my next customer.
That was just brutal. You know, I mean, everything you said is absolutely is on board. ODB, every now and then, for every great play he makes, he's hurt 3 seconds later, or he turns the wrong way and he's wide open, but he went the wrong way. Or our quarterback doesn't recognize the fact that he's open, or that Njoku's open underneath, or that this guy's open over here, or whatever. What it shows you, though, more than anything, is the fact that an offensive line without its tackles. I mean, he's been getting beat up all year back there. And we know both tackles been playing hurt, just like you said. It's not going to get any better because these guys just are not starters in the NFL. They're spot starters for maybe a quarter at best, and that's about it.
And Keyblade, what am I saying? Baker Mayfield is obviously not the franchise quarterback for the Browns because of the way they're treating him. They obviously feel he's expendable. And looking at Case Keenum coming in, he looks like, somebody's mother throwing a football. He's washed up and he can't play. So he has nothing to do except to keep playing Baker. And Baker, of course, is competitive and will want to keep on playing, but he will be injured and out for the rest of the season. And the Browns won't win a single game with Case Keenum. What I'm telling you is you're going to be the last place team in the North, because Baker's body can't hold up under this.
You got to think Cade McNown is available out there. I mean, geez.
Yeah, you would think. Again, it's and the only thing that was normal really about this game is that the clock was running out, the Browns were way behind, and Colt McCoy was on the field. That somehow felt warm and familiar to me. So
the announcers did. I was listening to Doug and Jim because what I'll do is I'll kind of stop the broadcast on the DVR and pull it up on Sirius so I can listen to the folks there. And you can even tell it's like when they scored the last touchdown, and it's another touchdown for AJ Green. It was just like they were so open. And the weird part is that they seem to mix them up with some simple stuff. They would just run him between the zones when he saw they were in a zone, and run somebody off the one side, and either two guys would follow him and they'd be open, or they would turn and our guy wouldn't be able to catch up with them fast enough. It was just, and the only guy that actually looked like he was playing his lights out was JOK, who ends up getting hurt.
Yeah, again, they have to scrape him off the field. Hey, little TY, or little Ty, how you doing? Where has Garrett been? He's hurt too. His knee's hurt.
Yeah.
They're all injured. I'm telling you that there isn't a player on this team that is, and you can tell when a guy like Myles Garrett just disappears like this, he's not getting any push. His whole thing is his bend and getting around the end. And if he's having knee trouble, he can do neither. He's not going to have the ability to speed rush from the outside and dip down. His knee's hurt. He's limited in what he can do. So, that's the answer to that. Baker is not a top 10 quarterback. He's at best a game manager with a run-first offense. People keep saying he's a top quarterback, and I don't get it. Yet at the same time, it was interesting. I was looking at what back-to-back. I'm being realistic. Sean says, that the coach isn't playing Baker right because he's a gunslinger. What I'll tell you is this. When Baker's a gunslinger, he fucking sucks. He holds onto the ball too long. He tries to make a big play that's never there. He gets stripped. He fumbles. He gets hurt. He throws picks.
And he's constantly drifting to one side of the field and throwing it, whether it's against all the way across the field or narrowing the field to 1/3 of its width.
Now, you tell me, what quarterback could be a gunslinger with Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, and Anthony Schwartz? I mean, please, just stop with the gunslinger
Maybe
thing.
Aaron Rodgers, who wants to throw the ball fucking 57 times.
Peoples-Jones is a decent receiver. I mean, Peoples-Jones is a decent receiver, but Schwartz, Higgins.
Yeah, but
I mean, what the fuck do you expect the guy to do?
well, there's not going to be separation, and they already know what we're doing. What we're doing must be simplistic enough that people have picked it up on film, and it's not fooling anybody because guys, in the beginning of the year, guys were crossing the field and were wide open. Now, all of a sudden, teams are saying, well, they don't have anything except this down the middle crossing action. They don't have anybody who's going to hurt us and beat us deep. And if we get pressure on the quarterback will hang on to the ball. He's prone to making mistakes. And the receivers won't break off their patterns and run deep and help the quarterback. So they know what to do. And every team, since the beginning of this year, the offense has gone bit, 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 bit. And you found out what the Chargers are. You were on me last week, and it's like,
Well, and as
today
I said,
you're on top of the
that's
world, tomorrow you're not.
That's another West Coast team that's traveling east and doesn't travel well. And
They
they're
quit.
They're a pass-heavy offense.
But does the Eastern time zone make them quit? The
No,
Chargers quit.
I think
Fucking run off the field by the goddamn Ravens is what fucking made them quit.
generally, Brian's like totally right. There is a historical thing of West Coast teams traveling east, although the Cardinals, I would consider them a West Coast team in Arizona. But, it's generally they do perform poorly traveling east. It's just one of those things that screws up with their mental clock and everything else. But
what I saw there, mental clock, I mean, they stopped trying.
yeah.
They literally stopped trying to tackle running backs. They gave up.
And thinking about going back and thinking about the Ravens and their running backs, the Ravens are on their fourth, fifth, and sixth running back of the season. I mean, they're starting three guys, all got hurt for the year. They've brought in Le'Veon Bell. They've brought in what's his name from the Saints. I mean, they brought all these guys reclamation projects. Now they have a plethora of running backs. So,
Yeah, I mean, and again, we
But
brought
their
in
the key running threat is still Lamar Jackson.
absolutely.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. We have an offense that's built on big and brawny, and Stefanski loves tight ends who block, wide receivers who are big and slow and block, and there's nothing downfield. There's no separation. You have to be so
Makes
precise.
me kind of miss Kadarius Hodge.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be so precise just to complete a pass. I mean, everyone's going to get down on OBJ for dropping that pass. But the fact of the matter is the ball was thrown low. He has to catch the ball. Yes. But every other team that we play, when they come up to the line on a fourth down and 3 or 4 or whatever it was, 5, there's somebody standing right in an open zone. And they look back, you can see the camera pull back, and you can see what he's looking at is a bunch of guys who are just guys are glued to him. I was gonna
say, even that one he threw kind of in there. They had the one to OBJ where he was between the zones, kind of like we've been getting burnt the whole game. And then they threw another one. They're talking about how he threw it between the zones to Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he just barely skimmed that one in there. There was 2 guys in front and a guy in back. They were a lot tighter than we were in our coverage. And every time it seemed like they would just be wide open, like the coverage was blown or something. And, this week you had Newsom back. You had Williams out there. You had Ward out there.
They don't know. They can't communicate. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing at the line of scrimmage. They're asking, like, what am I supposed to do? You can see it happening. All the time in the world isn't going to get these players open, Alistair. We don't have anybody who can scare the defense. They can stay step for step with you in a long pattern, and you don't have a single receiver who could be a good enough route runner to overcome the number of people they can put in the secondary once your running game fails. Once the running game fails, it's over for the Cleveland Browns. They just can go ahead and they know you're going to pass. You're going to drop, 6 into coverage, and that's it. There's nobody open. I mean, it's amazing how Austin Hooper could catch so many passes playing with the Houston Texans, But he can't catch a ball in Cleveland because he's never open. When they throw to him, somebody's draped on him. It's the same thing for every player. Odell Beckham is not open. Peoples-Jones and Higgins, not open. There's always somebody challenging them for the ball, and there is no catch and run opportunity. It's see the ball in, hit the ground. So it isn't that you need a quarterback who can buy more time. You need a 21st century, 2021 offensive scheme, and we have the wrong types of pieces to accomplish it. And this heavy mentality toward physicality and, Lombardi football is really more, it's more Guy Lombardo than it is Vince Lombardi, because I'll see you next year because you're going to be hurt immediately. These guys, we're playing this physical, aggressive game and being carried off the field. And teams are using their athleticism to make 3 big plays and score points, and we have to grind it out for 6.5 minutes. And our running backs are taking constant punishment, and our offensive linemen are constantly plowing into people. And we're the most affected team at our skilled positions for this team, injury-wise, of any team in professional football. And it's only going to get worse because the backups aren't as good as what they're replacing, and the scheme doesn't change. We're playing 1960s, 1970s football. It's the wrong time and the wrong place. And the coach is very stubborn, and he refuses to see any of this. If anybody in the chat room is looking at Stefanski's press conference, is your microphone farting, Hammer Time?
It's what happens when your phone, you get a notification.
I'm on my phone, and what's happening is I'm getting messages.
People who are as fed up as I am,
Yeah.
You run out of things to say, and the answer to this is a big fat no. All right? No. Okay.
Actually, you know what that sounds like? It's more like the game Operation.
Don't touch the sides.
Well, that stadium,
Broken funny bone.
The billions they spent on the stadium in LA is well invested if you're the Chargers, because you can win there. But God forbid if you have to go someplace else that isn't so good. I was telling one of the taunting fans who was taunting me in Thread, who's a Chargers fan, and it's like, we are all one step away from humility. Every team is one step away from humility in the NFL. That's just the way it is. And today is the ultimate humility for the Cleveland Browns, the realization that they cannot be competitive the way they're playing the game.
Or if you're the Texans, it's a shopping cart going downhill.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's what makes the season over for me. I don't know. I watch the games and I'll report on the games. My heart is no longer in the game of football. And it's been like this for a while. I want the city of Cleveland and the fans to enjoy a Super Bowl, or just the ride of getting there, of winning the AFC Championship. I want to see that for the fans. But the bullshit that goes along with this in this league, the things that the league controls, the way the league handles players like cattle, and we sit and try to analyze why are the Browns letting Baker Mayfield play, and they don't have any kind of contract extension for him. And the bottom line is they don't care. To Haslam, I ain't going to put 100 million, 200 million, or 150 million, whatever the hell it is, into Baker Mayfield. You know, we'll trash him, and by the end of the year, it's not like he's going to go anywhere. Teams who will trade for him are no better than the Browns, and his career will just become like so many others before him. And he'll be Kirk Cousins, the utilitarian guy. Some teams will be better and he'll do better, and some teams that he plays with will do worse and he'll do worse. He'll continue making a good living. Progressive won't use him anymore in their ad campaigns, and he'll become...
Either that or they're going to have to, film him in the back of a fucking ambulance every goddamn
Well,
time.
Remember when he was a number one pick, that kind of thing. But the Browns are content to put Case Keenum on the field. That's what I can gather from all of this. Because, I mean, how are you going to play a game on Thursday? I mean, really, folks? Are you kidding me?
That's the scary part. They're only going to have 1 day of practice and 2 days of rest. That is not going to be good.
Yeah.
So
You're probably not going to play Chubb or Hunt.
I would say you're correct.
Well, and they're not going to play Landry either. I can say that with certainty.
No.
And because if it was enough to hold him out this week, it ain't going to heal in a matter of 4 days. So they won't be playing with any of these people. They got nobody. And Anthony Schwartz is most certainly afraid to even, I mean, the end around that he ran, if he cuts it back into the middle, he don't want to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just obvious to me the guy is averse to contact. So, so he got it strung out. He strung it out himself. He don't want to get hit. We don't have depth in the wide receiver position.
He was more strung out than Hunter Biden.
Yeah. I don't really think that we have an adequate front line wide receiver core. That's what I believe. And so what's behind them is going to be less so. And I think that we surprised teams last year. They sat down, watched the film, and said, here's how to stop this. It kind of is like Kelly Holcomb. Remember?
Yeah.
The cover two? It's like, well, if we run the cover two at Kelly Holcomb, he'll never have a good game again for the rest of his career. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
It's, people are making jokes, I guess, in the chat room. What do I think of John Gruden?
It's all over but the crying.
You'll probably beat the Lions there. That team's bad.
And
Possibly the Texans again.
Yeah, but we don't have a chance to win on Thursday against the Broncos. We don't have a chance, and the Broncos are terrible. But we're just not going to be able to field a team.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no ability to run the football, and look, they have no confidence in these backup tackles. How we got into this mess, I mean, anybody with foresight would know that Conklin has a history when he played for Jacksonville of leg injuries. They know now that Jedrick Wills, Tennessee, you're right.
Yeah.
That Shredder with Green Bay had a history of missing seasons. Okay? Seasons. He's been healthy in Cleveland compared to what he was in Green Bay. And as far as Jedrick Wills, he's a casualty of war.
Yeah.
We never let him heal. We never let him sit. We made him keep playing, and now he's really injured, and probably for good. Because every game he goes out there, he's going to get rolled up on, and it's going to tweak that thing, and he's going to have to come out of the game. So how is it possible that your plan is, well, we got Hudson, and we got Hance, and that's it? That's it? That's your backup plan?
And before it was old Mother Hubbard before he got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, so there's no depth here, and there's no foresight in any of this. And it's really too bad. It's really
Hey,
too bad.
McLaughlin made both of his extra points. I got that. And we got that going for us.
Yeah, right.
They still
and,
got uniforms and everything.
and the answer, Alistair, how do we get better with lack of cap space? You don't re-sign Baker Mayfield. And you go back to becoming a 2-15 team. It's cyclical. It feeds on itself.
I mean, that is kind of the MO of the NFL is, if you think about it, a few years ago, the Falcons were in the Super Bowl, the Rams were in the Super Bowl, the Cardinals have had a couple of bad seasons since they were in the Super Bowl. You know, the Eagles, who are basically have been trash since they've been in the Super Bowl. You know, it happens. Just like you said, it's a very cyclical thing. To have continual success like a New England did through Tom Brady is just part of the it's just because Tom Brady sold his soul to Satan, but that was beside the point.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, it's just,
The other thing is you look at the Browns, well, our offense is good enough to put up that many points, so we drafted exclusively defensive players, and that's all well and good. But the person who's running the defense never ran a defense before. He never had the job. And so now you're throwing a bunch of young players and you're just wounding their confidence, and Denzel Ward is buried. He's emotionally trashed. He's like, trying to compare this to another type of athlete. He's like a guy with the yips.
Yeah.
He's not trusting his feet. He's using his hands. And all this happens because we have a guy who's learning his job on the job in Joe Woods, and we brought in all these young players, and it's destroying their confidence and morale. They don't understand whatever they're supposed to be doing, and it can't be explained very well to them unless they're all idiots, and I find that hard to believe.
We should
and
clarify.
Joe Woods, I believe, is an idiot.
Yeah, we should clarify for accuracy's sake that Woods was the defensive coordinator in Denver in 2017 and 18, and they went 11 and 22 over 2 years. So
that's right.
That tells you.
But the defense there was really good until he got there.
Yep.
Once he got there, the first year it started to sink, and then the second year it turfed.
Yep.
So what can we do to fuck this up this time?
We've already done it.
And you know what? That's the worst part about the defense, which is supposedly improved and had a 2 weeks back-to-back against two teams with very poor offenses in Chicago and Minnesota.
Right.
Have pretty much shown their true colors in giving up ridiculous amounts of points in back-to-back weeks.
The defense hasn't gotten any better because they're making the same mistakes and the communication isn't there. And it doesn't matter who's out on the field calling the plays. The guys don't know what they're supposed to do in the sets that they're in. They don't understand. It's obvious. They come to the line of scrimmage very confused. And in the red zone, for the most athletic receiver on their team to be standing literally 5 yards in the open at the back of the end zone seems just incomprehensible to me. And nobody will question Joe Woods. Nobody wants to ask the proper questions of these people. The goddamn press, all they want is sensationalism to get people to subscribe to their sites, but they're not asking. They're the people who could ask the questions, but if they asked those questions, they wouldn't have access anymore and they couldn't charge their subscription. So it's like a lost cause. I'd love to be able to ask questions of people here. I'd love to be able to have a sit down with Joe Woods and say, why is it that the scheme that you're running isn't sinking into the players' heads, and that it's not getting better, that we're not seeing improvement. So, I have no idea. It's annoying, and, the Cincinnati thing, Cincinnati's playing easier competition. The Browns can already prove that they can beat some losing teams. That's not the point. If you're watching the rest of the games and you're seeing the Ravens play and fuck the Chargers. Fuck the Chargers. Back to San Diego with you. There's, Herbert's a fine young quarterback, but the fact of the matter is that it's really great when you go for it for fourth down every time and you make it. But when you keep going to the well over and over again, and you know something, all you had to do was look at I watched that whole game. All you have to do is watch the film. They went to the same receivers and the Ravens were blanketed on them. Herbert threw the ball into mano-a-mano coverage. The guy wasn't separated, and same thing over and over. Off the field they went. On the short field, the Ravens go in. That Coach Staley is a guy who bets everything on Double Jeopardy on the TV program and wins and wins and wins. Well, then, the losing streak begins for gamblers this way. And that's not a sound way of winning in the NFL. And they have no ground game, and Eckler can't run the ball. And the only reason they beat the Browns was because they were gifted the game. They're the best team in the West. That doesn't say very much. So, but I'm looking at the teams like the Ravens and the Bills, the Rams. I'm looking at teams that are so much better, okay? I mean, take a look at like a 500-plus team last year. Brian Flores is going to get fired in Miami, and deservedly so. They took the wrong quarterback, okay?
Did we lose him? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Tua, they never believed in him from the get-go. They were wishing in the game today that they could bring Fitzpatrick back to come in and win the game for them. It's pathetic. I mean, there are a lot of bad teams in the league, folks, but the ones who are good really stand out as head and shoulders above what we got.
Baker Mayfield says he dislocated his shoulder again.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, that's what would happen. There was nothing else that could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the last things I tweeted was it had to happen eventually. Yeah. That's the way Kevin Stefanski drew it up. It's going to get worse.
Yeah. And once you do it once, it's easier to redo.
And do I think he has a shot at starting on Thursday? It doesn't matter. We don't take things seriously. We don't have a backup quarterback. We have an undersized guy who's slow-footed and an offensive line that has a predilection for being injured, historically, no matter what team they played for. And we don't have backup linemen who have ever played in the NFL. So what does it matter? Case Keenum will be injured within 1 or 2 games. He actually has less escapability than Baker Mayfield does. And he has no arm. And he has a noodle arm. So what does it matter? Case Keenum shouldn't even be in a professional football team anymore because he's 33 years old and he's washed up. And the Browns know it because they won't even put him in when their quarterback literally should have his arm in a sling. I mean, that's the bottom line.
And of course, Mark is actually talking about his right arm.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Keenum was more than warming up. He got into the game at the end, and you saw what happened. And he tried to double clutch a ball that was a 7-yard pass. He has no reps with the team. He doesn't know. He's there as a kind of an extra coach. But again, we don't take it seriously. You got to have a backup quarterback in this league because every year quarterbacks get injured, especially ours. That seems to be a regular thing.
Well, and even worse this year when you don't have any tackles. I mean, that you could just see it. The only thing, the going for it on fourth down with the Browns this year really that's killing me is every time they've gone for it, it seems like you're getting sacked.
Sure.
Or
What
or
the
you're
heck?
getting caught behind the line with a running play.
Yeah, it just that part of it that's extraordinarily frustrating.
Well, do you want to know why
mean,
it's happening?
Going for it on fourth down, fine. Put the points on the board. They know that they're going to have to try to keep pace with the Cardinals because the Cardinals are going to can score at will, right? When you got Green and Hopkins out there, and Murray can move the way that he can. Their running backs did not scare me, although Connor ran strong at the end when they were just trying to pound it out of there. But those two guys are dangerous. And not only brought in Zach Ertz. I mean, geez, they've got some weapons back there. But that's what they're going to have to do. But the fact that we continuously get sacked on fourth down, this is what the fourth or fifth time this has happened. This is,
But there's a reason.
Right. Doing it once, is crazy. Continuously doing the same thing is insanity.
Yeah, but the reason it happens is the play has one primary guy. They already know who he is, and they're draped all over him.
Yeah.
And the second Baker has to look to a second guy. Well, two things happen. Baker loses his accuracy and he panics. And two, if Hudson and Hance are on the line, there are going to be three men all over him mauling him. Yeah, yes, the reason they get sacked is because the play design is for one specific person, and if that one specific person doesn't get open on the play is wrecked. There's no way of reviving the play into a second act. It's over after the first act, the first read, and that's it. And that's the lack of sophistication in the offense and the fact that teams have figured out what we're doing. I mean, it's, this is, let me see what people I'm, oh, by the way, Larry, thanks for posting. Terry Pluto finally said something accurate. Brown's defense is embarrassing. So is you writing an article, Terry, about your masturbatory problems. That's embarrassing too. And I think God will forgive both of you in the end because he is a forgiving God. Drenched with sarcasm. Who is our third quarterback? I don't know.
Somebody off. It was. It would have been Lauletta, but they cut him. So.
Well, we didn't want that. I mean, and Brian, it is on coaching. The offensive scheme has been cracked. The code has been cracked. And defensively, the players don't know where they're supposed to be on the field and who they're supposed to be covering. And it's just, how in the hell, it's like I was saying in the beginning of the game, how in the hell can we be rushing four guys and have six in coverage? Where were the safeties? Where were the safeties on the first touchdown pass? Where were they? Ball was just flung down the field, and Denzel Ward was standing on a piece of grass picking his ass. He had nobody to cover. He was standing in an empty, barren zone. And all of a sudden he turned his head like, whoops, you got by me. How can it be that you have six in coverage and you don't have wideouts doubled? Or that you don't have a safety even closing in on the play? And the answer is they don't know what they're doing. And that's on the coach.
None of the defensive backs are getting jams at the line of scrimmage. They're not even trying.
It's
everybody gets a fucking free release. The tight ends get a free release. The wideouts get a free release. I mean, you can do. It's like you're playing against air. It's not even a 7-on-7 drill.
Yeah, but I mean, again, You look at what the Browns did, and they drafted for defense, but for some godforsaken reason, they didn't believe they needed to use any picks or get any free agent wide receivers, and they decided that it was better to go in the third round with Schwartz, who's a coward, and to end up with all these tight ends who can't run. We have no team speed. We keep believing that OBJ is somehow going to magically transform into the OBJ of old, and he's just morphing into the old OBJ. It's crazy. But, as far as what Prophet 216 is saying, yeah, I wouldn't wish that on Josh Allen, because he would have no separation from his receivers if he played in Cleveland. What he has in Buffalo, of course, he's got that. He wouldn't have that in Cleveland. So, and I don't even believe we do at this point have a third quarterback per se. I know that there is somebody on the practice squad. Oh, the kid, oh God, Mullins. That's the guy who's the third quarterback. He's on the practice squad, and he's
great. We got the drummer from U2, Larry Mullen Jr.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, and I think that he's had almost as many interceptions as touchdown passes as a quarterback in the NFL.
25 to 22.
There you go. So that's what you got. You really have a death wish, Tori. You would just have an absolute death wish.
Cam Newton, come on.
Yeah, I know. This is what you get, unfortunately.
Well, he was trying to ask you about John Gruden earlier, and it's like, go away.
Yeah, I mean, that's just silliness. And John Gruden is the biggest destroyer of organizations. He destroyed Tampa, and now...
not only that, they hate the Browns enough. Can you imagine having John Gruden on the team?
Well, yeah,
no. First Energy Stadium would be a fucking toxic waste dump.
Yeah, he took, what Tony Dungy got and built, had one winning year, and then trashed the organization. He's done the same damn thing now to the Raiders, and they have a real bad future ahead of them because of Gruden. The only thing that will save them is that Gruden will turn out to be the scapegoat of a much bigger problem that had to be the fastest investigation I ever saw in my life. Can you imagine all the paperwork, all the emails, and in a week they said, hey, there are no more. It was just Gruden.
Yep.
And Gruden can't say anything because they owe him $40 million. And he ain't going to fuck that up. He got to negotiate a buyout. He can't come out and say, no, wait a minute, I know for a fact, because I was getting emails that said this, this, and this. No, he'll take the millions of dollars. He ain't got to fuck around with that. And again, Baker Mayfield is a problem only in the sense that if you want to go deep into the playoffs, it'll never happen with him because he's an anachronism. He's the gutsy, short Fran Tarkenton without the evasiveness. He's the gutty Brett Favre without the size. He has the will to win of Randall Tex Cobb, but unfortunately the speed that went with it. Boxing historians. Courage is an important thing. Courage is an important thing. And being a fighter and being able and willing to take punishment, that's a great thing, I suppose. You're resilient. But it doesn't make for long careers, and it doesn't make for successful ones. And the Browns have not done Baker any favors with the slow wide receivers, and something's got to give. And the way things are going right now, they're not going to be bringing Baker Mayfield back to Cleveland, and then it's going to be 10 years again. Believe me, you're not going to find the right quarterback for this. Because this head coach just wants to do the nuts and bolts thing. He has nothing new to offer. Every week he's calling the same plays.
going back to Tory. Tory said, "Well, I was on the Darnold bandwagon." Darnold would have been fucking working at back in L.A. working at a goddamn laundromat.
Well,
Yeah,
Darnold.
Had to go through
I'm
the
sorry.
Hugh and Todd Haley and all the bullshit that Baker Mayfield's been through in Cleveland. He
And-
doesn't have the mental fucking toughness, and he's a turnover machine, just like Deshaun Kaiser.
And Midnight Rider, you're absolutely right. Eventually, everybody who takes that much punishment gets knocked the hell out. And you want to see somebody get their ass knocked out? Watch Deontay Wilder keep fighting. He's 35 years old. He's been knocked out in his last 2 fights. That's how it all starts, and that's how it ends. You lose your resiliency. You can only take so much punishment for so long. And, a lot of people say, oh, I wanted to do this and oh, I wanted to do that. And nobody had Lamar Jackson at the top of their quarterback list. Don't let anyone lie to you. Maybe some African-American activists did, but nobody believed that he would come in and make this big a difference this early on in his career as a throwing quarterback now.
Now, as a joke leading into the draft, I said, hey, maybe they could draft Saquon Barkley and then with the 4th pick Lamar Jackson.
Now, Valtoria, you're absolutely right. For what we do, if we have a healthy offensive line to protect Baker Mayfield, is the way to get the most out of him. The problem is we don't have a healthy offensive line and he can't get out of danger. And we're not going to have him for long. He's going to be injured and out for the year. He can't take this. He's getting hit by trucks. And, but you're right in the sense that with this offense, with slow tight ends and with big mauling offensive line and 2 running backs that were really good until they got injured, that was the best way to use Baker Mayfield. But it's never going to go very far. It's just limited in what it can accomplish. It's the way it is. And, with this scheme, it's not that you don't need a franchise quarterback. Is that a franchise quarterback ain't never going to play this scheme because he won't be allowed to audibilize because of the tin horn dictator who's the head coach who won't let that happen. And he has to have control over every play that's called. And he won't turn over the play calling responsibilities, and he's doing a poor job at it. And this is the same goddamn thing that we saw with Freddie Kitchens. He could pick which plays to run, but to design a play, Freddie's idea of a play was lateraling the ball 3 times. He was simple-minded. He was an ignorant person. Stefanski is an educated person who's convinced that this is the one right way of doing it. But no franchise quarterback would ever play in this system because they never develop into a franchise quarterback. They're not allowed to audibilize, so they can't create on the fly. What's the point? What you want are like little tin soldiers that you control, and then they get broken and busted. You bring in another one and keep doing the same thing. Nobody's going to do that. I got to get out of here. It's 8:10. I just want to leave. It's not that I'm a quitter here, folks, but I got to be honest with you. It sickens me to see players getting hurt. Watching Kareem Hunt cry as he left the field was hard for me because I know he wanted so much and he's hurt bad, and he knows he's hurt bad. A lot of you guys are, who are in the chat room, a lot of you are couch potatoes. You weren't athletes or you're not athletes. Let me tell you something. You know when you hurt yourself bad. If you're an athlete, there's a difference between pulling a muscle and hearing something go pop. There's a big difference. And that's what we're seeing from players now. And it's really hurtful. And it's hard for me to watch this. It really is. And I feel bad for the players who are trying their best against all hope. And the thing that sickens me is that the league takes this orientation against the organization to show us up for whatever reason. And this continues on, and these guys are getting hurt for nothing because they're not going to be allowed to win anyway. Cleveland is just not World Championship Lombardi Trophy winners. Cleveland? No, that's not what the NFL wants. It is obvious that's not what it wants. You know, I'll say one thing before I get out of here. They'll tell you everything you need to know about the narrative. The narrative. All right? I'd say that Baker Mayfield was a very accomplished quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. I can think of a lot of college quarterbacks who were huge. But Lamar Jackson gets his jersey retired at Louisville? Raising him to the rafters already, eh? That's the narrative, folks. I'm finished. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this edition of the Postgame Show. For better or worse, I'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the evening tomorrow to try to clean up this ugly mess, and we'll have some understanding of what the new excuses are from Kevin Stefanski. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Sorry that it went this way, and I'm sure that I'll be feeling a little different tomorrow, and you'll get that view tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
See you, Key.
Yeah.